Violence is the focus of tonight's special report on the issues confronting women. In the final instalment of The Gender Balance, we'll take a look at social and legislative ways to tackle crimes which are on the rise even in a safe country like Singapore. First, Deborah Wong has been speaking to a woman who was beaten but not broken. She's endured violence twice, first by her ex-husband and then by an ex-boyfriend.
So tell me about the situation with your ex-husband.
He started to act cold to me after about a year or 2 years after our marriage, after I gave birth to my daughter. So during that period, he started to use vulgarities on me, insulting me. I was in a possessive and controlling relationship with him. I share much to my friends, to my family, to my mom. But because it was a marriage thing, so we were usually advised, talk it out, discuss with him nicely.
So what is the situation like with your ex-boyfriend?
Felt like I want to end the relationship. He started to be abusive, threw into a rage, and then start throwing punches on me, physically hurting me also.
So was there any point in time you felt very compelled to report the matter to the authorities?
The third occasion where I was abused badly, it left me with a hairline crack. Then I come to realize that if this doesn't stop, then the abuse will get even more.
Over 2,200 personal protection orders against family violence were made last year. 74% of applicants were women. Still, many cases go unreported and undetected. But that could change if the community keeps an eye out. The problem is, do people know what to look out for? And if they do, would they reach out?
I don't think victims of family violence are something that you can pick out that easily. It's not always visible. I mean, you can't tell if someone's been a victim about this. You have to ask them.
If it's like physical domestic abuse, then probably very bruised or trying to hide their bruises and stuff.
When you suffer this kind of domestic abuse, you become a bit inferior. They think that it's very shameful to say all these kind of things in the open. As much as possible, protect that person who did that to them, especially if this is in the family.
I'm putting myself to the test. We've invited 2 actresses to the set. One has makeup on, as if she had suffered physical abuse. My job is to pick her out.
Hi. Okay, I see a little bruise there. Did you fall down recently?
I think it's just a mosquito bite.
Just a mosquito bite?
Yeah.
Would you mind pulling your sleeves up, please?
Actually, it's quite cold here, so I would rather not.
Just for a few minutes. Okay, I see a little bit of a blurry patch here, but I can't really tell.
It's discoloration.
Could you lift up your hair slightly? Okay, nothing there. Can you extend your arm? I'm just going to have a look. Okay, no bruises here either. What about the other arm? There's a slight red patch there. Is it painful?
Just a little.
Just a little. So how do you sustain this injury, may I ask?
I walked into the cupboard accidentally.
He walked into the cupboard. Okay. Well, this is getting very tough.
It's not easy, so I'm calling in an expert.
So usually for physical abuse, we will look out for physical injuries or physical indications. So indications can be things like scratch marks, can be bite marks, it can also be bruises, it can also be like a cigarette burn, or looking very unkempt or malnourished. So if you look at her neck itself, you'll find that this area tends to be a little bit more powdered on. So as compared to the other areas of her neck, so you may find that perhaps there's an attempt to cover up what has happened to her. So if I can get this lady to show both her hands with the sleeves rolled up. Yeah. So one arm is showing a bit more of her veins and blood vessels. The other arm looks a bit more powdered up. Right. Perhaps this lady has a stronger likelihood of being a victim of abuse because of her discomfort as well as her powdered arm and neck.
So this would be the right answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
But identifying other types of abuse is a whole other challenge. So Joanne's breaking it down into a 4-letter word.
Now, P stands for physical injuries and indications. E stands for emotional reactions. Is it an emotion of fear, or are they very withdrawn? The other E stands for evasion. So they're basically just avoiding you, the questions that you ask, giving you answers that perhaps are irrelevant, or they try to cover it up or evade the injuries. And the last letter is R, which stands for report. Are you hearing reports about fighting at home, people throwing things at home, shouting at home? Or are you hearing reports such as, I have no control over my finances?
How do you then broach this subject to patients in a very sensitive manner?
You want to bring them again to a safe place before you have a conversation with them about what has happened. They have just experienced something that's traumatic, that is distressing. So we want, through our words or through our non-verbals like our expression or our posture, to communicate care and concern.
Hospitals have seen a slight increase in suspected abuse cases against women over the past 2 years. They're often detected through the gynecology and the emergency departments. The key is to empower patients to make a police report as early as possible.
If need be, we will accompany them to the police station as well, to give them the assurance they need.
Due to safety concerns, victims don't always make police reports. So social workers from family violence specialist centres are stepping in to make sure that the abuse doesn't escalate. But as I found out, that process isn't always an easy one.
Valencia Ng cares for about 40 clients.
When they call us, we will want to find out what prompted the call, whether they are in any immediate danger. Wherever possible, we will also check in with them on whether there are any use of weapons or even any prolonged controlling behaviours. Hello,
she faces the daunting task of navigating the complexities of family violence.
Okay. Their concern is that people may not believe them, especially when the violence itself is more emotional and psychological in nature, which is largely unseen. So the onus is really on them to gather the evidence to prove that the violence did indeed happen. We had heard of clients sharing with us was when they applied for the personal protection order and her family members actually called her heartless and even evil.
Apart from phone calls, she does home visits if it's safe to draw up a safety plan.
What we find helpful would really be to understand how the clients themselves perceive their current situation and what their goals for the family will be.
He hit me before, I don't know whether he promised you all he won't do it, but I also don't know whether he will.
Because in the safety plan, right, we also look at tension. So you see, from on a scale of 1 to 10, right? Just now when you mentioned that, when the bills are not paid,
it's like sometimes when we talk, right, then he will say things like, "You repeat yourself. You repeat yourself." Like, who are you to say that?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? That kind.
Is that okay for you?
There are times when the violence spirals out of control.
So how do you manage a situation where police officers are needed but the clients refuse to call them?
We'll work together with the clients to make the report and support them through the police investigation process as much as possible. It is also our duty to rope in the relevant authorities such as the police, especially when there are possible loss of life concerns.
While it rarely comes to that, one life lost is one too many.
Family violence is also a societal issue. It will be really helpful if community members and friends can keep a lookout for each other.
As for Lily, she sought help from Valencia's team after going through 2 abusive relationships.
If I could turn back time, I feel that these matters should be reported early so that you don't have to live in fear for years, and then seek help from the proper specialist agency. They will be able to help you during these stressful moments.
How would you describe your own mental state and your own well-being now?
I feel like I'm a bird that's just released from a cage. You stand up for yourself, you feel more secure and safe after you have come out from all this toxic relationship.